Brackeys Game Jam 2021.1. Let's make this game! Now let's take a look at how I made it. Before we can answer the title question and give you advice on how to avoid this yourself, let me explain what my game is about. I recently reviewed Minima on the channel, a super fun, fast-paced platformer. So yeah, I just kind of copied that. I made some simple 8x8 sprites in Sprite, imported them into Unity, made a simple character controller to move left and right, custom animation system that doesn't give Link a brain aneurysm trying to understand. I originally just made a tile set of every different colour I would need so I could change the sprite as needed, but then I remembered a video which would allow me to build a system to change the colours of the tiles at runtime to anything I want using a custom shader. This is great because it means even me with absolutely zero colour theory knowledge at all can just quickly palette swap without having to remake all the assets. There aren't many things in this world I can do well, but luckily stealing colour palettes from online is one of them. Say hello to such exciting colours as red, blue, Earth, and my personal favourite, Richard Hammond's bike. Alright, we have a shooter that can now shoot things at the player, so let's make the shooty thing that the shooty thing can shoot, and now let's make the player painfully die when he stubs his toe on one. I also added spikes, keys, key boxes, and a goal. Polish time, just like in Celeste we have jump particles. Oh yeah, screen shake. That's much better. I also realised I missed a few animations, so here we go, we now have wall sliding and jump animations. And while I was at it, I added eyes to the idle animation to make it fit with the rest of the sprites. Now you may have noticed one thing I haven't mentioned yet. A punchable wall. The player can break through this if they have enough allies to fit the theme of Stronger Together. These allies will be hidden throughout the levels, with 3 in total that you have to go and find. The player can then try and punch the block in front of him, and if he has enough allies, it will break. So to detect a punch, a player gets its X and Y position on the grid, add 1 to that to the direction it's facing. If it's a wall there, tries to break it. It's camera time. Understanding orthographic size in Unity is not as hard as I originally thought. The height is defined as 2 times the orthographic size, and by definition of the aspect ratio, the width is the product of the ratio and the height. This combined with a function that puts the bottom left of the camera in the bottom left of the grid gives us perfect room effect where I can set the room size to be 20, or 10, or 4, or 300. Now you might be asking me, you said this video was about overscoping, what went wrong? I'm a dumbass. Normally you would just use the regular Unity built-in tile map, use the prefab tiles, and just paint in whatever levels you wanted for your scene, then move on to the next one, and 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 the next one. But because of my colour switching mechanic, I decided to use a custom tile map. But here's the thing, this game is a project I've actually wanted to work on for an extremely long time. Recreating Super Mario Maker is my biggest dream in game dev. So instead of limiting the scope of this Game Jam game to just making the game, I set about making the entire system for the future game I want to release, but cramming it all into the 1 week period. Because with a Mario Maker type system, all the levels are created at runtime, you can't just make them in scenes and load them in whenever you want because they haven't been made yet. So I had to spend days making a custom saving and loading system for all these levels. This was a lot harder than I expected, but it did give me really good insight into not overscoping your games. And if you have plans in the future to develop your game further, do them in the future. Don't try and just cram it into your Game Jam game, because you know you will want to do it when you don't need that for the actual Game Jam. The end player's experience will be exactly the same. Put simply, I created a fully custom level editor, and that is an issue because all my levels had to be created at runtime, which means no making scenes with prefabs, and I have to make saving and loading myself. The light at the end of the tunnel of this, however, is that I did it. This is now going to be super easy to scale up whenever I want to improve it in the future. But for now, as always, happy coding.